Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Couples Chronicles with your boy, Lloyd.
And Afiya.
So we're married, and we don't always agree, like every other couple. But we've chosen to live a life full of love, laughter, and
respect.
So join us on our journey as we tackle today's topics or this week's topics. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's get to work.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of trending topics around this, specifically with Kofi and Omarion recently. So what are your thoughts on ethical non-monogamy?
What are my thoughts, or are we asking a specific? That's what are my thoughts. Let's first define what ethical non-monogamy is. And I found that it says, it is a practice or the practice of taking part in a romantic relationship that is not completely exclusive between two people. I think that just means it's an open relationship. And correct me, listeners, if I'm wrong. What's the two? Is that the politically correct verbiage? But I'm gonna go with open because that's what I know it to be.
Right.
So we live in a world where anything is possible. And I think the key is if you have two people that believe in the same thing and it could work. Me personally, I agree with it 1,000%. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I'm too, what's the word? Possessive to allow my wife, and that's the key for me, allow my wife to go be with someone else. I think I'm more open and more laissez-faire in a relationship. And because I've been in relationships where I kind of thought and end up being right that the girl was cheating or whatever. And it didn't really bother me that much. It didn't dig under my rib as much. But I think my wife, knowing, like, I mean, I can't imagine you coming to me and be like, oh yeah, babe, I have a date with Rick. With Rick today. And I'm like, all right, cool, have fun, bye, be safe.
Yeah, very unrealistic.
And you know, you have to know yourself. That's another thing. So you have to know what you're able to. Bringing up the, what's that show we just recently watched?
Reasonable Doubt?
No, with Megan Good.
Oh, Harlem.
So Kofi was the actor in Harlem as well.
Yes.
And I forgot the young lady's name or her character name or her real name.
Megan Good?
No.
No.
I don't remember. They're gonna know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I would have to commend her. I give her applause that she actually even considered it and talked. Like she loved this guy and saw herself with a future with this guy and didn't, again, if you know, you know, right? Just cut it off. Don't try to necessarily please. But she did take the time to actually consider it and sat down with one of his other partners. And then she realized,
this doesn't work.
I can't do this. It was too weird. And I respect it either way. Yeah. But I respect people's choices to live how they live.
Yeah. Okay, so in the interview recently with Omarion on the Sherry Shepherd show, you know, I feel like he made a couple of comments specifically about, like, you know, there's only a few good men out here.
I don't know. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that meant, first of all. But
like I thought, you know, like, what are you trying to say, right? Are you trying to say that women, you know, we should share a penis just because, you know, there's only a few good men? Like, what do you deem
that's what he meant.
Right?
Like, that's how you interpreted it.
That's how I interpreted it, right? So. And it's so funny because he's such a calm speaker that when you actually take apart what he's actually saying and take a moment to be like, excuse me, you know, for me, it's just like, there's so many amazing women out here that I don't think that you should
think there are more amazing women than amazing men.
I mean, that's fine, right? But also too, like, what works for you, no, not you, but like one woman like what works for one woman as being an amazing guy, you know, looks different for someone else, right? So to even make the comment of, oh, there's only a few good men, like, says who, right? Like, who, like, what are you trying to say? Like, you're saying that, oh, well, we should be open to sharing penis and we should be open to, you know, sharing men just because what you deem as a great man, there's few on this planet. And I just think that's an excuse. I think if you want to live your life according to what best fits you, you do that. But don't, you know, don't necessarily spew that
it's just a few good men, so you might as well just share it.
And like, settle. In my opinion, I felt like he was telling women to settle. Like, okay.
See, that's the key. That's the key word that I feel like get on a lot of women's ribs is when you say settle. Like, I've mentioned that before in other topics. Like, you don't like to hear the word settle. I mean, I don't like to say. I'm never gonna settle. Right. But I think that's like a trigger for like, why should we settle for this or this? I would say though, I don't want to say, when you really think, because I've mentioned this to, I've mentioned it to my sister, to women that's getting up there in age, and I think I mentioned on the podcast too, just in pure numbers. I get what he was trying to say. The delivery was completely, if that's what you're trying to use it as a reason on why, I don't think that was the best reason to prove your or to share your opinion on the subject. But just by pure numbers, I do feel, and I've told this to you before, that I think a lot of women are becoming conditioned to accept a taken man because of what he said.
When you say taken,
married in a relationship, whatever, somebody that's taken. Because like, so we talked about this last chronicle. If you tuned in, about what's that term that we hate?
Conditioning. Who's doing the conditioning?
Society and just the numbers. Like it's to his point where he said there's not a lot of good men. I'm not gonna use that. If you want to use the term high valued men, which we both agree that we don't like that term, but if you think about, like for instance, let's put it this way. I'm gonna ask you a question. You're married to me, but if you had to like write label of your perfect man, I know that's not such a thing, but just give me like 5 criteria of your perfect man. Just quick, just 5 of what you think.
God-fearing.
I know that's gonna be one of them. Go.
Financially stable.
Good. 2.
Kind.
3.
Can kind, compassionate, and funny be one?
Sure, all in the characteristics. Your thing.
Kind, compassionate, and funny.
So that's 3.
And tall.
I'm about to say, no, I thought you were gonna skip it. I'm gonna be like, don't forget tall.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, most of those men are in a relationship who married.
Okay.
So in that sense is what I'm trying to say. And a lot of women see other women that have these things and want it.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes women try to take a taken man, you know what I'm saying, and want that for themselves, but then sometimes Then sometimes just fall off into being a side chick, or some women will say, I'm not a side chick, I'm okay doing what I'm doing, and he's in a relationship, I'm not, I'm doing what I'm doing. So I get what he's saying, but again, me personally, I'm too selfish. I'm too prideful to see you off.
And I also think that, like, you know, when it's funny because when I saw the interview about specifically ethical non-monogamy, my thing is, does that go both ways, right? Like, it's easy to sit and say, oh yeah, like I believe in ethical non-monogamy when it's one-sided, right? Like you can have as many women as you deem.
Well, I think it's supposed to be both parties,
right? But it's a little bit different when she's going out with men that trigger your insecurities, right? And then you have to accept that and be okay with that. And in my opinion, I think that's unrealistic. If you sat here and you say, you know,
there's a lot of women that bring this to their husband as well, or their partners.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of women that want that as well.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, right? But I'm just saying, like, if I knew, right, like you liked women with big butts, right? BBLs, big booty juices. And you know what I mean? I'm a small, you know what I mean? And I'm small framed, right? And now
I bring home a woman with a big booty.
Right. That's not something that I'm going to be okay with, because it's also going to trigger an insecurity inside of me. Not that I'm not sure about myself, but it's something that, like, I know my husband likes that I don't have, right? And so to see you out with somebody that kind of feeds that, like, you know, it wouldn't make me feel good about me. And transparently, I want to be in a relationship that always makes me feel whole and makes me feel safe, right? Like, and makes me feel like good about myself. Like, I don't care if I got a little booty. Like, I want to know my husband loved this little booty, right? Like, hype me up, make me feel like I'm that girl. Like, you know, like, I know my butt little, but it's okay when I'm, you know, I'm twerking and be like, hey, hype me up. Then that, you know, and that goes to friendships too, right? Like, so I feel like the term ethical non-monogamy, in my opinion, maybe because I don't have female friends or know many females.
I don't know nobody that's really open. I don't know anybody that's in an open relationship.
Right.
Period, but,
so I mean,
or that I know of. Like
right.
they might, but we don't know.
No,
but,
right.
yeah.
And if you guys are in open, relationship, feel free to chime us in, because it's not an experience that we have friends that are part of.
I haven't experienced.
Right.
I've never been in an open relationship. I mean, I've dated openly, but not exclusive
and then
to a person. Right,
because in my, like I said, when I hear it or when it's expressed more oftentimes than not, it does seem like it's one-sided towards the man. But I don't think.
I think you're just hearing it from the male point of view. That's why it seems that way.
And maybe men are just more vocal about it. But in my opinion, I want to be in a relationship, like I said, that makes me feel whole and safe. And I think being in an open relationship, where you're, whether it's sexually active or entertaining other women that have features, whether that's mentally, physically, emotionally, that I can't give you, like that's not going to make me feel good about myself. So it doesn't make you feel
secure.
Yeah,
it's more about making your partner feel secure. And that's another level of, I think, of that openness that, again, you have to have those two strong people that really believe in that, because I don't think these people share that I don't want to call it insecurity, but that I guess that fear of the person liking something else or liking something that you can't offer them or you don't have an attribute. But that's one of the points I was going to make, and I'm glad you said that. That kind of confused me on the whole open thing. Is like I've heard, I don't know if this is like golden, but some of the explanations I've heard is that, and I think Kofi said on the show, is that you get fulfillment from different parts from different people. And I could understand that, right? But not everybody's gonna have everything you want.
Right.
And to say that you're giving yourself 100% or you're fulfilled 100% from that one person, because I think in that situation, he wanted to marry her, but then have open relationship with other people. So I guess in that type of relationship, there's like a main chick, quote unquote. That's how the streets say it. And then everybody else is who you're open with. How can you give your 100%? You're telling your wife or your partner that you're not fulfilling me
100%.
So I need to get it from, and it's not like, and this is the harder part, right? Because it's one thing if I say, let's just take your example. I like big booties, right? And you don't have the biggest booty. And I said, well, we're in an open relationship and I have this one. Here is Sherry. She have a big booty. But now if I'm bringing home Sherry, Monica, how many things I don't like about you that I need fulfilled? And I can see why that would make you insecure, right? Because it's like how many different women I need to fulfill me to make me feel whole. Like that's the part I don't understand. Like how much are you missing? I would say to those, again, this is my opinion, right? And I know it works. Find somebody, nobody's perfect, like I said. Find somebody that fulfills you as close as to 100% as you can.
Right.
And work on that other 3, 5, 7%. And you're gonna have to just deal with it.
Yeah.
But for all that have that open relationship, I'm interested. You know, I want to know some of our friends or followers that are in open relationships.
Like tune in because it's a thing, right? So it has to work.
I like how they make it seem now.
I feel like, in my
Ethical
opinion,
Non-Monogamy.
right? It's a new term, yeah. So come on, it's an open relationship.
Open relationship.
I feel like the only time that I could see an open relationship working is sexually, where it's like, let's say I got off on watching you have sex with somebody else or vice versa. And that's like a thing. That is a thing, right? Like it's not a thing in our relationship, but it's a thing. Like if a woman got off on watching her man have sex, it's like live porn and vice versa.
I don't
like
watch
maybe
porn.
But no, but that's what I'm saying. Like
on that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like, or imagine he got off on watching his girl, but it's weird.
That's a different type of
It
ego.
is a different
type of man.
It is psychologically, like, I mean, although we don't, do
One
that.
of my friends, true story, I'm not gonna mention who it is, had this brought to him, proposal. Ex-girl or somebody that he used to mess with, that was her thing. And her boyfriend, she was like, I don't know what nationality she was, but the boyfriend was Indian. And she wanted to, I think she wanted it and he was okay with it, but he wanted to be there. And he called me and was like, yo, what'd you think about this? I'm like, bro, you I said, you different. I said, just make sure you call me after so I know nobody first of all, I'm not going to meet anybody in the hotel room at the middle of the night.
Yeah,
That's just me, how my mind, I watch too much movies, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he went, did his thing, say it was a weird situation, like they filmed it and cameras was like, it was a weird situation. Like when he got in, the dude was like peeking around the corner.
Oh my God.
And he did what he did and
but that's what I'm saying.
Kudos to you. I could never do anything to that like that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you really never know what like people's fantasies are, or like I could see that. I could see if you were like together and like, you know, you wanted to try all these different things sexually. And that was, you know, where it stemmed from. You know, like I don't know. I feel like I saw that in a movie recently. I don't know what movie. I feel like it was a Tyler Perry movie for some reason.
Possibly. Look, I think, you know, a lot of people have their sexual needs and desires and what needs to be fed. At the end of the day, it's your life, guys. Yeah. Live your best life. We have one life to live.
Yeah. And also, like,
all this is just opinions. This is just our opinions on how we feel.
And also, like, be safe. I think that's the thing, too. I think what disturbed me the most about from Harlem, you know,
they were safe though.
They were safe, but it also was this like, it was this painted picture and a reality that like he was having unprotected sex with other people.
No, they were very clear. There was like,
here's my test results,
and I get tested every month. Like, right, it was very.
But the reason why he's showing, if he was using a condom with her, there would be no real need to show her like test results.
Well, it's more of a comfortability, right? It's more of a, I know you're safe. I know you're safe. I know you're safe. Let's have fun. Either way, even if you met somebody in whatever at the bar and they were like, "Oh, I have AIDS," are you still fucking them if they have a?
Hell no.
All right, so it's still a level of safety, just knowing that you're safe. Yeah.
Okay, so I took that as like he was having open sex.
That was showing that it was very. They were very protected and very, you know, yeah.
Because I think just that reality, you know, behind the sexual health was just like, oh my God, this is too much.
That's what they were showing. That's what they were showing.
Okay.
The practical. Anyway, let us know your thoughts. Moving on. I think we could have made a whole segment about that. Let's go. Topic number 2, or chronicle number 2. This is another trending topic with my guy, Anthony Edwards, right? Let's pose the question first and then I'll relay it back to him. So I'm going to talk about the situation first and then pose the question, because this is not our question, but this is how the person posed the question. Anthony Edwards have a daughter with, I think, little baby ex-girlfriend or something like that. And he's saying that he don't want to be a part of the baby's life. He's going to support the baby financially, but he don't want to be a part of the baby's life, right? That already is kind of tricky. But the question was, as the person that I heard it from on the podcast was, I don't know if it was a podcast, but it was just talking about it. Should a man be able to exercise the right of not being a parent like a woman can? Breaking it down, a woman thinks she makes a mistake, she can have an abortion or choose not to keep the baby. A man, or I want to say man too, because it takes two people, let's rewind it. 2 people make a mistake, but the woman don't want the child, she can choose to abort it, right? Her body, whatever. Now, if 2 people made a mistake and the man feel like it's a mistake, the woman ultimately have the right to have the baby or not. So the question was posed, should a man should have rights to not want to be or go through with the full pregnancy? And it's a very touchy, and I was saying, I'm gonna let you answer, sorry. I was shocked to see the amount of people that backed Anthony Edwards. Right. I was shocked. I thought it was even women, I thought it was gonna be like 90-10. I thought it was gonna be all male, like, yeah, and then women were like, no. But anyway, let me hear your thought on that.
So I think, you know, one thing about what this show has taught us is the number of double standards that there are, right? Okay. And the number of situations that, you know, just society paints a picture and leans more in one favor or the other. Mm-hmm. I think this is one of those situations where, you know, unfortunately, you know, the woman gets that decision and the man doesn't. However, I think it's one thing when you're living the situation versus talking about the situation.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think in particular this situation, when he's saying he wants nothing to do with his daughter, right? Like you lay down, you had unprotected sex, both of you, you know, and granted, she has a decision to keep the child or not. She decided you don't have that decision, right? Like I said, one of those things that's a double standard. However, I think when there's an actual human being in the flesh, like a little girl that we're talking about, that's a human, that's alive and walking and talking, and it's turns from an idea to a reality and to a person with feelings, you know, a person with a smile, a person that hugs you, a person that, you know, will one day feel abandoned, and you have to explain to her why her father doesn't want her and doesn't love her, right? Like why her father, you know, has chucked her up to being a paycheck and nothing more than that, right? Why didn't he want her? And as a mother, she will have to answer those questions. As a father or as a sperm donor, right? Which is what he's saying that he's willing to be and nothing more than that. He won't have to answer those questions. But being that he is a celebrity and he's on TV, I'm sure one day, you know, she'll say, oh, that's your father. He's right there. He's on TV. And if he ever does come in contact, what answer will you have for her, right? What will you say to her when she says, well, why didn't you want me? Why did you abandon me? Why wasn't I good enough for you to love me? That is deep. Y'all gonna make me cry. Like, it's so, like I said, I just really genuinely think that it's one thing when you're hypothetically talking about a situation. It's another thing when you realize that this little girl is a human being that's walking, talking, and alive and has feelings and emotions and will receive and feel the impact of the situation. And if we're, you know, I'm not saying every guy is even in a position to be a parent financially, right? But if you have the means to do so and you have the means to love, there's some dads and some moms that have nothing but love. And that child felt that love. You have that and more. You have the means, you have the love, you have the capability, and choosing not to, it's like, why? Like, why? Where's the compassion in that? Where's your heart in that?
So this is such a crazy topic. I thought about this driving on the way, and so much different levels and so much different angles. And like you said, it's like, it's one thing to talk about it, and it's one thing to actually live it, right? Personally, again, we're married. Again, that's how I started the show. But in the event that I've ever gotten anybody pregnant, that's not a thing for me. I'm taking care of the kid. That's just me, right? That doesn't mean that I don't understand. I'm gonna just talk about, I want to the male's point of view, but let's talk directly to Anthony Edwards' point of view, right? It's so much levels to this, because for instance, right, we're thinking, first of all, that we're just going out there having unprotected sex. What happened if I had protected sex and the condom prior? And it was literally a mistake. I wore a condom, I didn't want to have a baby. We caught it in time. And again, this goes back to your views on abortion as well. Right. A person's views on abortion, because that plays another role in your decision, right? But let's say I did, we just assume that we just out here just raw dogging it, which is crazy. You're a multi-million dollar, if that's what you're doing, right? Again, we all had their time and space, you know, where you wild and do dumb shit. But we all assuming that he just out here, or people are just out here just running around. Let's just say we are safe. Condoms break. What you learned about the condoms are 99.9% shit. Birth control is what? 99.9. Nothing is 100%. So let's make it the clean version. We had a one-night stand. I wore a condom broke, we got pregnant. I'm not ready for a kid.
So I also feel like, you know, as it pertains to the whole abortion topic, right? Like, it's also something that a man will never have to go through. It is not an experience, like I said, double standard or experience, you know, that a man will be able to understand, right? And I think that it's very, I won't even say easy, but I think from a place of, you know, logic, it's easy to sit and from a logical place say to a woman, just go get an abortion, right? Versus actually having to go get an abortion and lay on that table and be put to sleep and deal with the guilt that supersedes that experience, right? So I think because it's not an experience that a man can actually put himself in ever, it doesn't matter if you're in the waiting room. It doesn't matter if you paid for it. It doesn't matter if you're there when she gets out. There is never a time where a man will fully be able to understand that experience during, after, or in the future. Right? So I think that it's easy to sit there and say, oh, well, we had fun. We made a mistake. You know, go get a chop. Go handle your business as a woman, right? But I think unless you're able to deal or understand that experience firsthand, there has to be a level of compassion there. And that's what I'm saying. Where is your compassion? And when you ask me what type of man that I would want, I said compassionate. I said compassionate, loving, funny, and kind. Because those are the fruits of the spirit, right? I'm a God's girl. We always gonna go back there. But I think that, for me, right, like in that situation, it's like it's a scary thing. What if you're afraid to be put to sleep? Like, I'm a mom now, right? There is nothing more terrifying to me than being put to sleep and not being able to wake up and see my son, right? So like to have an abortion, like you got to be put to sleep, right? Like, what if you're afraid and you're terrified? Like, you know how many teenage pregnancies there are because the girls were just genuinely terrified. They didn't know. They don't know what to do, right? And so I'm not saying, that, the situations could have been handled differently. I'm saying that it's an experience that from a logical place, it's easy to speak from, but from an actual physical place, that it's never a situation that a man will be able to walk in a woman's shoes emotionally, physically, or mentally and understand the ramifications of making that decision.
So you said logic, right? And again, I think we're skipping a lot, I'm just saying people are skipping a lot of steps. You were the first person, guys, we have a kid, we have a beautiful 3-year-old son. You're the first person I ever got pregnant. Mm-hmm. And one may ask, I usually even ask myself, how is that possible?
I got that
vibe. How could I never have made a mistake, right? Yeah. So we see the outcome, but we skip steps. So we had sex, and again, I'm gonna paint a perfect picture. I know that we're not a perfect people, but I used the condom, it broke, you got pregnant, or first of all, that's the point, sorry. I used the condom, it broke. You know what my next step is? A day after pill. So much things could have happened before you actually got pregnant. So 2 things. Let's take the Anthony Edwards situation. You had sex with this young lady, let's say protected, unprotected. Let's for general topic, unprotected. And again, I can't force a day after pill down your throat, but let's just say, okay, we had fun, we made a mistake, we were drunk. I come to you and be like, I don't want a kid right now. Let's take this day after pill. Now you turn that down. No, I don't want to do this. So again, you get where I'm going. So we had sex, we made a mistake. The next morning I say, hey, this is not what I want right now. Let's just be safe. Here's a day after pill so you don't get pregnant. You choose, or you might said, sure, yeah, I'll take it, don't take it. Now we're talking 3 months down the line, you telling me you pregnant. Logically, do you think that's fair? I went through all the necessary steps not to have a kid. Do you think that's fair on the guy? Because again, before you got pregnant, I gave you an option not to get pregnant at all.
Right, so you're saying, do I condone him being a deadbeat? No, I don't condone any deadbeats. As a mom...
No, do you think it's fair for the woman to then, I'm going to say force, and ladies, be gentle with me. Yes, because I had sex with you, I told you I don't want a kid, I gave you day after, so you're not even pregnant yet.
Right, like
and you chose to not take the pill, and now you're pregnant.
So let me understand what you're saying. You're saying that, am I agreeing with the fact that he should be not in his child's life?
Not in that situation. I'm talking about other situations. And that's his fault. Again, I don't know what their situation was. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, in a situation where we had sex, unprotected or unprotected, hopefully you're protected, y'all being safe out there. The day after, we got up, hungover, damn, that was a wild night. Yeah. Let's go buy a pill. Let's go to Walgreens and go get a day after pill. You're not pregnant then. We're both clear, we don't want kids now. Now, if you choose not to take, because again, I can't force you to take a day after pill. If you choose not to take the after pill after I asked you not to take a day after pill, so which means if you chose not to, what did you have in mind?
That she wanted to get pregnant.
Do you think that's fair for me after I did all the steps not to have a kid, mistake or not? Do you think that's what the question was? Right. And I'm asking you logically now.
So I understand. I understand the situation, right? I'm saying that if a child, they created a child from that situation.
But that's before we skipping this. That's why I say I feel like we skipped that step.
No, you're saying the guy took all the necessary steps.
Which is the day after. So you wouldn't even got to pregnancy.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, which means she wanted the child, even he didn't, right?
Okay.
And this is where, in my opinion, and I have a son, for everybody that's watching, I have a son.
We have a son.
We have a son, right? You teach them, be careful who you have sex with, right? Because of situations like this. Like, be careful who you put your penis inside of, like, because of situations like this. And you have to be very transparent about it because there is no going back. And now I will never condone. I understand the situation. I understand, he took necessary steps. Well, be careful who you have sex with. Not like that, because I will never, in no situation, especially now that I am a mom, and I understand how hard it is as a single mom, not for me, but for other people. Like, I will never condone you just abandoning your child. Like, it goes against completely everything.
He's not abandoning. He's financially taking care of the kid.
Right. Like, right. So at least he's doing that.
Yeah, he
right?
said that. He
like, I think if you're just not doing nothing, like, you're a piece of shit and you should go fuck yourself.
Oh my God. Like, pardon her French.
Like, I'm just being honest. Like,
Not you.
I think when you, like I said, for me, being that I am a mom, and I will never condone somebody just being a deadbeat, but because I feel like a lot of times when I would say
at least though, because he clearly said he didn't want the child. I don't want to be a part. I don't want this child. And again, I don't mean to talk about the kid like that, but he clearly stated, and clearly you understood this. And so I'm saying, here is my financial, what's the word? Financial support.
Yeah, responsibility.
Responsibility. Again, I could never do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, but on the way here, I started thinking about all these things. And people, again, I think I just thought about it on the way over here. They forgot the step of, like, it's a lot of things that happen between sex and you being pregnant. I could have stopped that. That was one of the things I did when I was young. I'm going to go spend that little $40, $29.99 if you get the generic brand.
You're stupid.
No, that's serious. That's the first thing. Let's go get that pill because I don't want a kid with you.
But listen, like I said,
simple.
Like, I think it boils down to, once again, knowing who you're having sex with, and be careful who you're having sex with, because if you are in those situations, knowing that you're not going to be the one that's going to be able to make that decision. You have to understand that. Like, men have to understand that. And I'm not saying, like, she's right for what she did. I'm just saying it's an experience. Telling somebody to go get an abortion is not an experience a man will ever be able to
I agree with you.
Understand.
A pregnancy, I would never fully understand. A period, I would never fully understand. Abortion, I would never fully understand.
No.
But logically, I have an idea. But I can never...
I think it's one of those things where it's like, like leading with your mind versus your heart. And don't get me wrong, I understand, like, a child is an 18-year commitment, right? Like, it's a big part of your check. I'm not, dismissing any of those things. I just think, like, logically, he's thinking, oh my God, I got to pay for this kid. And he's agreeing.
I don't even think he's thinking about that because he got multiple kids. I don't even think he's thinking about that. He should be. Yeah. I don't know who his financial advisor is, but I think he should be thinking about finances.
I think, and men feel free to chime in, and even women.
No, they will.
I just genuinely don't understand the concept on abandoning your kids. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm like, for me, if you had, like, we're not talking about somebody that doesn't have the financial means to do it. Like, I truly don't understand. Like, if you're paying for the child, why don't you want to know your daughter? Why don't you want to have a relationship? Like, what is it? Like, are you trying to spite the mom? Like, I just genuinely don't understand the concept behind it. Like, when I look at my son, I thank God for him 100 times a day. Like, I'm like, I almost feel like, not to say nothing else matters, but I'm like, I just don't understand and can't wrap my finger around how people like reject like this gift that God has given them.
Simple fact is this, right? Let's say, and this is, again, like, for instance, they say that athletes date the same girls.
Right.
All the same girls, right?
I mean, I can understand if you were raped and then the child come out looking like the predator. I get that, situations like that, but like any type of like rape situation, but
so you've never had a
situation where it's just like that's not the case.
Before me, you've never been in a situation where you was having sex with a guy, and because I know girls, I've heard this. I don't know if you thought like, oh, I'll fuck him, but I'll never have a kid with him. I don't want to marry. I don't want nothing to do with him. He's good dick. He's good sex. Yeah. But I could never raise a family with him. Right. Have you ever had that thought in your head?
I mean, maybe when I was like younger. Like,
but now that you're older, you chose whoever you had sex with.
Yeah, you choose to be more intentional, right? Like, also, I remember my cousin John, he had that conversation with me. He was like, oh my God, like I stopped having sex with women that I couldn't see it being anything more than, because he was just like, all these women want kids. He was like, I'm at the age, he's like, I'm in my mid-30s, like I got a good job, like all these women want kids. So I'm like, I have to like know that whoever I'm putting my penis inside of, like wrapping my mind, if she gets pregnant, I know the situation that I'm getting myself into, and not putting myself in that situation unless I'm okay with those circumstances. I think when you're young and you're not thinking about those things or whatever, but when you do get to a point where you're like, okay, let me just be cautious just in case. Yeah, I'm thinking about it like, do I see myself like if I remember one of my friends, former friends, she told me, if I can't see myself going into the clinic with you, like if I can't we can't go in together, we shouldn't be having sex. Like if I'm looking at you like, I can't go in, like nah, stay here, like we shouldn't even be hooking up. Like,
so again, let me be clear, people. I would never do that, but
yeah,
I do have a fix, and my fix for this situation is the same fix I have about child support.
Which is?
Make it a law. We like to make everything contractual, just like marriage. So it should be that in order for you to get, again, it's very over the top, but agreement should be between both people. Like you see how China could control how many kids people have? How can they do that? We can't. So I think it should be a contract that be like, we both have to agree on paper that we want this child. If one person doesn't agree, we're gonna have this child. It's what you call it. It's drastic.
Are you saying have a non-disclosure before you have sex, like,
or something like that? Yes, on paper. Yes.
I mean, they do have those. Celebrities have those. I remember Raven-Symoné. She spoke about that. She had a non-disclosure.
We having sex. I do not want procreation from this. In this agreement, you agreed with me not to have a child if anything happened. That would fix everything, though.
I think a lot of women would be in jail. They wouldn't do that because a lot of people would be in jail.
But it fixes the problem. Again, so this is why men feel that it's not fair for the men.
Or men could just make better sexual decisions.
I agree with you.
Like the government is not going to penalize women for not.
No, they're going to penalize the man. And that's the problem the men have.
Or they could just make smarter decisions, like be intentional about who you're having sex with, like use a condom, like, if the condom break, good luck to you. Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, that starts with like...
We're not even gonna get through 4 topics here, but that's fine. We probably did the third one, the last one. But you heard about those instances where women are turkey basting and again,
yeah, I've heard
like
that too.
All that stuff that men gotta go like, people holding the sperm after you leave it, turkey basting themselves, and then the men have no choice but to be in debt for 18 years.
But look, what does it go back to? Being intentional.
Oh my God, women need to go to jail for that. That's why they need to be going to jail for that.
Right, but like
if you put it in contract, it's right there. You're going to jail.
If you're
entrapment, it should be entrapment law.
If you're intentional about, first of all, the government is not in control about who you lay down with as a man, right? So if the government can't control who you have sex with, they're not going to put laws in place to penalize women for decisions that stem...
Well, the government cheap. They don't want to pay for nothing, so they're not going to put that anyway.
They're not going to do that.
Sure.
It makes no sense. It starts with make a better decision. Choose wisely who you have sex with. Don't lay down with her if she potentially gets pregnant, you're not okay with those actions. Make it simple. Not like that, but it's like that doesn't fall on anybody else but you.
All right. Well, y'all heard it from the beautiful horse's mouth.
Listen, I'm
Fellas,
just saying,
make better decisions.
Make better decisions. And I'm not, supporting women that potentially entrap you at all. But I'm just saying, make better decisions.
But once you trap, it's too late.
Listen, once that baby girl is here, hi, daddy. How's daddy's baby? Like, stop playing.
All right. So I think we only have room or time for one last topic. Let's make this one. I'm going to go with this topic. Why do people, when ending a relationship, need closure? Personally, I've never understood that whole closure thing. Maybe you can enlighten me and help me understand. What does closure mean?
I believe that specifically for you.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
I think sometimes you just invest so much of your time, emotion, your body. Like, you know, there's so much there, and you don't get that time back. You just want to understand like what went wrong. And sometimes when you understand that, you know, you can carry that knowledge into your next relationship, or you understand that, you know, maybe you just grew apart. Maybe there's differences between you that can't be rectified, you know. But sometimes just knowing, it brings you peace, because sometimes when you have like a bunch of questions, it haunts you.
Have you needed closure before in a relationship?
Man, I don't think so.
I love this. We be asking each other like first time questions. We never asked each other this question.
I know. Closure. Not really. I mean, I think, you know what it is, in most instances, I was the person that
broke it off.
Yeah. So I think because I was the person that broke it off instead of them breaking it off with me. I will say with one of my relationships, he broke up with me and he said, you know, I feel like you have expectations of me that I can't fulfill right now. And although in that time, that wasn't what I wanted to hear, but it was the truth. Like, you know, like we were just in two different places, and also like thinking about the woman that I became and all the expectations I have of you on a daily, you know, some men might not be able to handle that, right? Like, and I think you handle it with such grace and poise and ease, and you never are overwhelmed. But I put a lot on him on a daily, like you know, on a monthly, like, you know, like, and so I think, you know, when I look back on that situation, him saying that, I think in a way was a form of closure, because I wanted the relationship to work, but it would have never worked. Like, even just seeing how life just turned out, like it would have never worked. Like the pressure and the demands, you know, that fall on a man's shoulder and even a wife's shoulder, like the demand, it only goes up. Like back then we had life didn't even kick in yet. Like once life, it's so funny. We have spoken about this. Like I remember when we first got married and we did marriage counseling, and I talked about everything under the sun about our future, and now being in the future and all of those things are a reality. You realize like, no, like you're not bugging. Like everything, all of your concerns were valid, because they do actually happen. Like you do have to pay for childcare. You do have to pay for healthcare. You do have to pay for, you know, you do have to do a 401k, like whatever it is. Those concerns are valid, and you should never ignore them. But to answer your question, I think that was probably the closest to like closure I think that I ever like needed or got in a relationship. And not that like I could have never gone back to the relationship, I could have, but the reality is like those expectations would only increase. Like they wouldn't, you know, decrease. And I never would want to feel like I'm tiptoeing around, you know, my partner, specifically a man. Like, you know, it's not like I'm in a same-sex relationship. It would be a little bit different. But it's like if I'm leaning on you as a man and I have these, you know, expectations of you, like as a man, like I don't want, those are not going to change.
So she started off, I don't know if I call it eloquently, but very convincingly saying that she know that for me to be true. I've never needed closure from anything. Once I'm done with you, it's done.
Yeah. My husband is also something wrong with him. I don't know, guys. Like, I think he, you know, his mama needed to kiss on him.
Something might be wrong with me. Something might be wrong with me.
His mama needed to kiss on him a little bit more, because he's a little like.
I don't know. I don't know what I am. But this is what I hear when I hear the word closure. And again, this is my understanding. You understand why I view it the way I do, right? So, two people get in a relationship. One person decide that they no longer want to be, let's say both. Let's just make it, both people decide that they need to separate, right? Again, both parties decided we need to separate. Or let's say one person decided, it doesn't mean it matter, right? And then, so now I'm home on the couch, laying in bed late at night, thinking about what went wrong, right? Cool. And then I say I need closure. All I hear is that I'm not sure if I want to end this relationship, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But say, let's try to work it out. Don't say, you need, what is the, I truly don't understand what is the closure. It's either we're gonna work on the relationship or the relationship is done. It's two different things. Like,
I disagree.
For instance, one story and then I'll get you back to it. I remember, I think I told you this. I don't know if it was recently or probably a few years ago. I had an ex-girlfriend from high school. I tell you the story, right? Yes, no, I don't even remember. Anyway, had an ex-girlfriend from high school that probably wrote me on Facebook probably like over 10 years ago. And this is when we was in high school. Guys, I'm 40 years old. So first of all, put that into context as well. 39, not 40 yet. So she wrote me after years. We don't even speak. She wrote me after years. Again, this is 10 years ago. I'm what, 30, let's say 29. I got out of school at 17. So 12 years later, and wrote a long paragraph, very in-depth about wondering what happened to us. Went through the whole relationship. I know that there were these group of girls that didn't like her and this other girl in this particular group that tried to infiltrate our relationship. And she went through she really thought about it. I didn't even remember none of this stuff she was talking about. That's how, when I'm done, I'm done. But she went into breaking down and wanted to know what happened to us. We were so, and the funny thing is that she was getting married. So this is before her wedding. She's writing me this all, looking for closure. I guess, I didn't take it as she was looking for closure. I took it as she was looking for a reason not to get married. Again, I might be wrong. But even that concept, you're about to get married, you write a long, lengthy, well-thought-out paragraph to your ex-boyfriend from high school about what happened. You don't think that's a problem? You don't think something is wrong there? Not to that extent, but where's your mind at?
I think sometimes when people get married, I think her having that conversation with you is just because maybe it's almost like the final, let me just make sure all these doors are, I don't know.
So that means you're not over me. But she means she's like that. Again, I think she probably was over me, but when it's more new, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with feeling bad about the relationship or second guessing you're breaking up or whatever, then work on the relationship. I just don't understand. I need to have a conversation with you to make sure that this relationship is dead. That's what closure means.
I think sometimes.
And I'm not being over guy. I really, really don't understand it. You can hear it in my voice. I really don't understand that concept.
I think when you spend so much time and investing into a relationship and the relationship doesn't work out, you want to know why. You want to know what happened, because sometimes, we're not as forthcoming with how we feel, especially men, right? Sometimes you might have things that are bothering you that you're not being honest about, or you may not even mention, or vice versa. And that's where the communication comes in, and then you just break it off. So and you're trying to understand.
I could live with that explanation.
Yeah, you're trying to understand, well, how do we get to this point of you ending things, or vice versa? It could fall on my lap, it could fall on your lap, and now I'm literally at home, replaying the whole relationship, replaying every situation, literally stressed out, trying to understand what got you to this point of wanting to end.
Because you don't understand. Because the communication was...
Yeah, because the communication wasn't there. And now, transparently, it might not move to a space of reconciling, right? It might really just be, I want to know what happened. And that's fair, because for you to be at a point of wanting to end things, you're there already. You don't want to work things out. But I think out of courtesy on both sides, at least tell me what went wrong, so that as I move forward, I'm mindful. Because you could have gone through the whole relationship and it something that happened a year ago, you just kind of swept under the rug. And now we're a whole year later, and it's you never mentioned it, and now you're breaking up with me, and it's actually, this happened a year ago, and it was a breaking point for me. For instance, sometimes it could be, to be honest, it could be a religion thing. Sometimes, men want a certain type of woman. And we saw this in Harlem as well, where, the guy wanted Angie's fiance, not Angie, the other one, the actress.
I think her name was Angie.
Yeah, she wanted her fiance wanted her to be just
about him.
I
think he wanted to stay at home.
Yeah,
wife.
he wanted to stay at home wife. Yeah, that was all about him.
Yeah,
but that's a real thing. We even have a friend, close friend, that was transparent and said, hey, like, I don't care to have a woman that's ambitious. I want her focus to be the home and being submissive to him. And he was honest about that, right? And so imagine now you're in and that is not, I mean, he can say that to us, but if he was to say that to another woman, it would come off crazy. It would be like, what do you mean you don't want me to be ambitious and not have any goals and just be at home waiting? Like, it sounds crazy. So it might not.
There are women that okay with that too.
100%. But sometimes if you say that out loud to a woman, it comes off insane. It comes off like...
It's not crazy to me. I'm not even a woman.
Right. It comes off crazy. Like, how could you not want your woman to have, like, ambitions, goals, to be driven, to have any passion or care in the world other than being submissive to you and your house? Like, it's... Like I said, for me, it sounds crazy. But for him, and for some men, right? Like, imagine they've been dating you 2 years and then they break it off, and it's like, in that time it's like, well, the woman is asking the question, what went wrong? And the reality is, hey, you're ambitious. I don't really care for that. I want a woman that doesn't have goals and really just focusing on the home. And she could have done nothing wrong. It's just a reality that he came to, right? Like, and that's just in this instance. Another instance could be, I don't know, like men, sometimes with men, not even just men, but also women, like it doesn't even have to just be just men. It could be women as well. Like, just coming to the realization that, who this person is doesn't align with who you want to spend your future with. And it doesn't always have to be this drastic breakup. It could really just be this realization of, hey, like, you're not the person that I see myself. You're not my person. Like, you're not the person that I see spending the rest of my life with. And you could have done nothing wrong. And that's the hard part about, like, dating. But it's like...
So I would say this.
And of course, like, it's in my opinion, it's only fair to have that conversation and to have that closure. Because it's not going to change the person's mind. Like, he still wants a submissive, stay-at-home woman. And you're a driven woman that's about her goals and moves to her own beat. Like, it doesn't change who you are, but it is his truth. And sometimes when people operate in their truth instead of operating from a place of who you want them to be, you need closure. You want to know what happened. Like, why? Like, I thought things was great. Like,
in that sense, I would say, honestly, in that sense, how you broke it down, and that's why I love these things, right? So in the situation you're talking about, is if like somebody just up and like dip out the relationship, and
it don't even have to be. Listen, I mean, not dip.
When I say, I don't mean like up and dip and leave. I just mean like break it off.
He left, and she had 2 kids with him. Like, sometimes people really just have an epiphany. And I'm not saying the epiphany is right or wrong or, but when you say something like people only live life once, and then they just wake up and decide, like, life that they're living doesn't align with who they want to be for the rest of their life. That could be religious. That could be,
honestly, I did that one time. I woke up next to her and was like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
And broke up with her just like that. I'm not trying to be a dick, guys, but actually I just woke up and realized, like,
it's not getting. What happened?
She never asked me what happened. She disappeared off the face of the earth.
Okay.
Actually, no, she didn't disappear. Well, she did, but anyway, it's a long story. I ain't going into that. But I did wake up one day and was like, yeah, what am I doing? Like, this is not who I know. I'm not. This is not gonna.
My life
so it's a waste of time.
I've dated people.
I just broke up with her.
I've dated nice people.
She didn't ask though. But
I've dated nice people where I'm just like, I have ended things because I'm like, you're not who I see myself spending the rest of my life with. Like, and they could, the nice people, nothing wrong with them.
And they want to know what actually happened. Yes, so that's the closure.
Yes. And it could, and what I'm saying is that could go both ways. It could go both ways. It doesn't mean like you're a bad person or you've done anything wrong. But if I am driven, I'm a model, I'm ambitious, like, I'm spontaneous, I'm all of these things, and you're none of those things. Like, you grew up, your parents, like, are nurses, like, you have a 9 to 5 that, you don't see, you're not pushing for more in. Like, you're just
I get it.
Going through the motions. Uh-huh. And here I am, ambitious, driven, pushing the limits, striving for more, trying to break barriers. And it just doesn't align with the person that you are. And you could never fully understand who I am And I'm just looking and experiencing, like, you're not my person, you know? And so for me, like, I could definitely understand it, you know? And sometimes you date people long enough to realize, I would do that. I would date you long enough to realize this is not what I want.
That's fine. And again, if y'all come to that realization, I would think, again, like I said, I would think grown-ups have that conversation. I mean, I did it one time. That's when I wasn't a grown-up. I was young, 20, whatever, 23, 24, 25, whatever. But you would think you would think, and it's not always that way, but if we decide to part ways, we would have a reason, or we have a discussion on why we part ways. Hence, we won't need closure. But in the situation of like somebody just breaking it off spontaneously or just
arbitrarily,
there you go, big words. Then one party might feel like, okay, I need answers for like what happened, because I'm like, I thought we were perfect, and I can understand that. So this is the first time I could understand that.
You're a nice person. Like,
I mean, I wouldn't care, but I can understand.
Babe, if I broke up with you when we were dating and you never heard, you would ask what happened.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying. I would. So that's closure. I don't even.
Closure. Asking what happened is.
But I would ask at the same
closure.
time. Like if you broke up with me, I'd be like, "What did I do wrong?" I would ask that same time of the breakup. I would have my reason at the same time of the breakup and be like, "All right, cool."
Yeah.
No, like again, I get it. Again, in my world, you have that conversation at the breakup. And I know why you broke up with me and you broke up with me. And you broke up with me or we separated. But I understand. I truly understand. Understand. We got deep today. I feel like this is like the longest we've talked on particular topics before. But I mean we're engaged. That mean those topics had to be said.
And also, like, they were very current to like
very current. Both of those things were very current.
They were very current to like what's actually
and touchy.
happening. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and touchy subjects.
I think, you know, sometimes it's easy to operate from a place of logic or what sounds
what's
right.
The right thing,
what's
but
the right
actually,
thing? Yeah, but actually going through them,
things are different.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Couples Chronicles
with your boy Lloyd
and Afiya. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share.
See you guys next time. Peace.